Like
It
a lot
is.
of people in relationships are coming from families that there was no model of relationships, or they had models that weren't good for relationships. And I don't know, people have an ego thing about learning about relationships. Like they just want to wing it. Like I got this. I don't need a therapist. I don't need anybody telling me. And it's like, why do you think that? Why do you think that? Why are you going to wing one of the most important things in your life? I don't know, but we have a lot of people have that attitude of like, I know what to do. And so it's like, no, but you don't. A lot of things that you're doing are unhealthy. You could be doing a lot of things differently you could be communicating differently. You could be focused on yourself in a way. You could be supporting better than you are. You have the capacity, but you're not even aware you should be doing those things because you didn't learn it from anywhere.
Hi, welcome to R&B Convos, relationship and breakup conversations. If you'd like the opinions of a certified relationship coach and author, Trevor Trail Scott, and a licensed clinical psychologist, Dr. Jazz, join us where we discuss our love of music and help you navigate everything relationship related. If you like our video, don't forget to like our video and subscribe.
I was just thinking about that because this weekend is, I don't know when Rutgers has their homecoming, but this
Coming up.
weekend is, okay, Morgan's is this weekend, or when is Rutgers homecoming?
I gotta check the group text. It might be this weekend. I'm not going this year.
Yeah, I can't go this year either. My sister's going, but to Morgan's homecoming. But I was thinking about that because meeting with you was like, I only was at Rutgers for a year, but I maintained like the friends that I had from that. Yeah, I was only there my freshman year.
I didn't know that.
And
I
then I
don't
had
think I
to
knew
leave.
that.
Yeah, I had to leave. And then I went to community college in Baltimore, and then I got a scholarship to Morgan. But I was just thinking about the friendships that I still have from that 1 year, like close friendships that I have that if I didn't go there just that 1 year, that I wouldn't have. Like I wouldn't be talking to you if I didn't go there for that 1 year.
What year was that for you?
That was 2001
2001.
because I
What
graduated in
what semester?
2001 to
What semester?
2002.
I guess I meant what semester was that for you?
It
Like
was
freshman year, junior year?
it was freshman year.
Rutgers was your freshman year. Okay.
Rutgers was
Mhm.
my freshman year. I had to start over again in school because of what happened at Rutgers. But yeah, I was thinking about that today. Like I wouldn't know you. I wouldn't know Joyelle. I probably wouldn't have continued to be as close with Chantel because me and Chantel went to high school together, but we ended up being in college together in the same dorm. Yeah, Floyd, like all
So
of you,
you know,
I would
everybody, yeah.
uh, met you. So
Ha-
I was thinking about
I'm
that
sorry.
today. Being like,
Can you tell
I'm
me?
sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. What'd you
Okay.
say?
You don't have to say it now. You can say it off camera. You said what happened at Rutgers.
Oh, when I went to Rutgers, I was born and raised in New Jersey. But when I went to Rutgers, for some reason, they couldn't get my financial aid straight for in-state. And so when we first tried to straighten it out, because they kept trying to say I was out of state, and then they wanted me to, and because they kept saying I wasn't from New Jersey, I was also having a issue getting my federal financial aid.
Damn.
And
Okay.
so
Wow.
my mom had to come to school because my tuition wasn't paid. And they were like, okay, well, we'll figure it out. In the meantime, like just sign this promissory note saying that you'll pay. But it was for like 9,000. It was the difference between like 9,000 and $12,000 a semester or something like that. But they were like, oh, if you just pay it, when we'll figure it out, we'll give it back to you. It's like if I just had $12,000 sitting around to go to school, I
Yeah.
wouldn't be working out financial aid. So they let me finish the year, but it wasn't figured out. They never came to the conclusion that I was in state, and so they wouldn't fix it. And so I had to stop school, and in order to get my credits, I would have had to pay for that year. So I
Yeah.
just went to community college and started all over again in Baltimore, where my sister was I actually had like a year off where I was working, and my sister was a year behind me in school. She went to Morgan first, and
Okay.
she was like, why don't you just come out here and start over? Like, in school. So I moved to Baltimore, went to community college, got a full scholarship to Morgan from the community college and transferred schools.
Okay, I got that.
And then got my bachelor's degree from Morgan State.
So for some reason, I was thought like you could tell me off camera that was easy. Just in case it was something bad, like I don't know what you could have done. I was like,
Right.
can you
Like
tell
I
me
got
now or
caught doing
tell me later? That was easy. All right.
yeah, yeah. I got caught doing something crazy. Like no,
Like, dang,
it
you got
was
to
just
start over.
financial aid
Nah,
mix up.
that could have been any of us. So I understand that.
It could have been yeah. No, I wasn't in school doing anything crazier than you knew me to be doing. Um, yeah. So that's what happened with that. But when I had that moment of oh wow, I just had like a I don't know if that's gratefulness feeling, but I had like a good feeling. Oh wow, I wouldn't have known these people
Mm,
if I didn't go there that year. So
yeah,
I had like a little moment of happiness over that.
I think I
Uh,
knew that, but maybe I didn't know that. I don't know.
yeah, I could have
You
mentioned
might have
switching
mentioned it to me.
schools or something, and you might not have realized because I was still visiting because of our mutual friend. So I was still coming to Rutgers because of him. So you might not have realized that I wasn't going to school there
Yeah, I know.
anymore.
I probably thought you was still in school there, and you didn't say
Yeah.
anything. No. I,
You said what?
I said, yeah, I probably thought you were still going to school there, and of course you didn't say anything. But I'm joking. Like it's not like you're gonna
No, I probably was.
broadcast to everyone like, hey,
Yeah,
I don't go here anymore. Like,
yeah. No, I probably did say it. If people had been like, "Where have you been?"
oh
I
yeah,
might have said it, but I probably wasn't like announcing it every time I saw people unless they asked. But yeah, I'm grateful that I got to meet the people that I got to meet while I was there. Um, all right.
all
I
right.
haven't talked to you in a long.
I know,
I'm trying to.
very long time. I don't even know what to say. I just like as much as I have goals and things that I want to do and have to do, I'm like, you know what? A lot of time has passed, whether it be 5 years, 6 months, 10 years. It's like, regardless of what I'm trying to do, I already did a bunch of stuff, and I kind of have to be grateful that so I'm in a good space now, but I'm definitely like all over the place. I feel with my kids, and there's softball, and there's baseball, and there's gymnastics, and it's like I've heard about this stage in life, but we've got it like on a treadmill. It's all routine at this point, but definitely in a grateful space because I know I won't be here long. It may seem like a long time, but it's probably not going to be that long. My grandmother turns 100 in a couple of days,
Oh
and
wow.
her short-term memory, as of, the last few months, her short-term memory is trash. So every time I see her, a couple times a week, I'm like, "Hey, you're turning 100." She's like, "Who's turning 100?" I'm like, "You're turning
Not
100."
me.
She's like, "In age?" I'm like, "Yes, 100 in age." Like, so even 100 years go by, and you still feel like it went too fast. So yeah, me at 40 plus, I'm just like, it seems like it's going fast, but it's always going to seem like it went fast. So let me try slow down and enjoy it. Because if 100-year-old person is like, "Where'd the time go?" I'm like, what chance do I have if I'm not even at the halfway point of that? So anyway,
Yes.
but yes, we
Well,
haven't
that's when
spoken
you
in a
said
long time.
that. Yes, when you sent that text saying I'll figure it out one day, like well, I think we're always feeling like we are figuring it out. Like as soon as we feel like okay, then we have to figure something else out.
Something
Like
else.
age change, things change, and we're figuring something. Your kids' lives are changing. My sister is going through that too, where her kids are in activities, and so she's working and trying to make sure they get to their all their activities, not only for their practices, but showing up for their games. And it's a lot in addition to like trying to run your own life, trying to make sure your kids get to experience things as well. It's a lot. So
I,
yes, it's great though that you're able to do that for them.
I will say that we just kind of it made me just think of the song that we just started talking about. forgot the name of the song. I know it's Joyner Lucas. And he had
It's
Maya.
Never Mind.
Never mind. Um,
Or
I will say a lot of
NVM.
my journey now is easy because of my partner, for sure. Like if that was chaotic, I could see I empathize with the men that I know that are going through certain things. It's like with their relationship. It's like whew, that's a lot. Like I don't know how you can manage career and parenting and hobbies and all that stuff if that is chaotic. Um, but it also made me think of the people who are not in relationship that they want to be in, but they don't realize that the opportunities that may have come their way or the things that the direction they might have gone in could have had them miserable. And it reminded me of the two perspectives in that song. Not saying that what they, if I remember correctly, and I'll let you kind of jump on that, but um, it's not some drastic thing that happened that they were just, or the conversation that was happening. It wasn't some drastic thing that happened. It was more so something that is very common, like this drift apart almost, where we're not paying attention to each other. So it's not this catastrophic event that kind of ends the relationship. It's that constant drift apart and not the desire to kind of reach back to pull each other closer. And when you finally get that desire, you're so far apart you can't even reach each other. But that was a great song. That was a good choice. But you chose it, so what do you stands out to you in that song?
Yeah, I think that's a good start. First of all, before we go in deeper, am I coming through clearly on your side? And I don't know if my connection is making you're coming through a little fuzzy on mine.
I'm fuzzy here. Okay, maybe it's
Yeah, are you seeing me clearly or no?
I can hear you clearly.
No, I can hear you perfectly. I'm talking about the way I'm seeing your picture show up.
Oh, my
Are
picture
you
showing
seeing
up
me
fuzzy.
clearly? Yes, but it might be my connection. So I'm or
No,
on this app.
I
So
can
I'm
see
wondering
you
if I should
clearly.
switch.
Is it because I'm far away?
No. It might be the way my phone is connecting because if you're seeing me clearly on your side and I'm not seeing you clearly on mine, it's probably my connection that's making the you understand like it's a
Yeah.
connection issue. It's not about
No, I
your
see you
camera.
clearly. You're clear.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your
Hold on.
lipstick is like, wow.
It's very bright. Let me make sure that this is connected properly so that because I haven't used this, I don't know if it's gonna show up.
Yeah,
Not I don't
you got me downloading all these new apps and stuff.
I'm sorry. I was trying to see if it was gonna make the picture better, but it's coming. I don't know if it's recording the same way I'm seeing you, which is a bit fuzzy. Hold on.
Recording.
Now you're clear. Okay. Okay, we good to go now. Yes. It's interesting. I hear what you're saying you hear about the drifting apart. I hear what started the drifting apart. And I hear poor communication and I hear like I'm saying how the communication which leads to misunderstanding and then like the expectations and the resentment leads to the drifting apart. So I've been liking Joyner Lucas's visuals. I like his songs, but the visuals and then he has like he has the like 90s font. He has Ashanti in the first video that became really big. He had the video, I don't know if you saw his video with Regina Hall. Have you seen his video with
I
Regina
seen the
Hall?
Ashanti one. I probably saw Regina. Oh, it's not coming to my mind. What song? I
I
probably
don't
saw it.
remember the name of the song, but in the song, it came out not too long ago. But he's like Regina, I think is an actress or somebody famous
Mhm.
in the song, but they're together, and he's like living this lifestyle with her. They're very loving towards each other. They're all in love. And she's an actress, and she played it so well that people are like, "Is something going on between them?" But she was, it's a video. It's a it's an about and he's like dreaming that he's with her though. At the end of the video, he's on a couch in this regular looking place and his girlfriend is screaming at him about how he isn't this or that, but in his dream he's
I
with this
don't know if I saw
like
that one.
and so then this last video is the one with Maya NVM never mind. But I hear when I'm listening to her perspective and his perspective, I'm hearing some of the things that lead to people having big arguments. And if they don't know how to communicate or if they're not understanding where their expectations are coming from or where they feel pressured by expectations, how you start to not be as kind to each other, not connect as much, and drift apart. So she mentions him, they both mention him not working, like that he used to be doing well. He used to
Yeah.
be hustling, not hustling meaning he's doing anything, but like I guess ambitious. And he was bringing in money and he had goals for himself that he was achieving. And I don't know what happened, but it sounds like he stopped doing that or something happened where he's not working anymore. And from my perspective, well, it sounds like from her perspective, he's not working anymore. He seems lazy. She's trying to confront him about whatever issues that she has with him. And even the way he says it, it sounds like she's giving him a laundry list of things. And then he is what he keeps calling rectifying, which if you're talking to someone, well, we'll come back to that. But the way that they're communicating, like, that I hear that's an issue when she says she's giving him like a laundry list of things that he's doing wrong that she doesn't like. And the way she feels in response is like he's shutting down, not listening to what she has to say. He doesn't show like he desires her anymore. And so
Mhm.
from her perspective, it's like, you're not as ambitious as you were. You're not living up to the goals or the person that I met that was ambitious, was a go-getter, took care of things. Now you seem lazy. Now you seem disinterested. Now you seem demotivated, and that's unattractive to me. And I don't understand why you have an attitude or why you're playing video games and doing other things, but not doing what you should be doing. And then she's resentful towards him, and they're not able to continue to connect. And then from his perspective, and we could go back to these things of the losing a job and what that's like sometimes for men in relationships. And then what I hear from his perspective is, you're nagging me, you're saying all these bad things about me. I don't want to, be intimate with you, and you're not wanting to do it as much anyway, so it doesn't feel right to even try. And they're both thinking like we shouldn't be together anymore, but staying together anyway because they've been together, not wanting to confront how things are going, and then letting it go on and on and on, which a lot of couples do. It's like, you have problems, you try to talk to each other, you're not able to work it out. So you just keep letting the resentment and tension and disconnect build over time, and you're not dealing with it because you have come to the conclusion that you can't, and you're still not like breaking up. Those are all the things that I hear. But what I hear started it was probably the disconnect of him not being the same, probably because of losing money or his job, and then her reacting to that and not really understanding where he's coming from, maybe because he can't really verbalize it.
Mhm.
Have you ever like been with someone where you were up maybe like financially or doing well and then weren't, or and they didn't react well to that, or maybe you didn't react well to maybe making money at one point and then not making as much money? Do you feel like you've always handled that well?
Well, I haven't had to deal with that, but I will say I would definitely feel that a guy losing his income would affect him mentally, especially if he's in a relationship and there's a certain level of responsibility that falls on him. But at the same token, I would say that would be painful, I'm sure, to anyone, especially, if you don't have money to pay rent or your mortgage or something like that. So obviously it'll affect men and women slightly differently, but I'm sure that would kind of crush the average person. The thought that came to my mind when we were talking, we were just speaking, is a lot of times, if this is I mean, you can use this term loosely. If this is the right person for you, um, there's going to be a miscommunication somewhere. We're two different people. I've spent 25 or 30 years on this planet before I even knew you. So that's 30 years of habits that I'm bringing. And you got your own 30 years or 40 years or 25 years of life without me. That's 25, 35, 45 years of habits that you're bringing. So together we have about 80 years of unknown history. So it's inevitable that my wife and I got together probably around 30, 31, and we're in our mid 40s now. So we've spent a lot of time together. We have a lot of shared history, but that's still
Mm-hmm.
30 plus years. Even 14 years doesn't erase the 30 that came before it. So she's who she is in certain ways that even 14 years later, I may kind of start to see a little bit, because it's just the way it is. So if this is the right person, the thought that came to my mind when you were speaking was that if you don't figure out how to address these type of things, all you're going to do is go to the next person and discover a new set of issues or something similar. I think of even, sports, I was talking to a group of guys about a particular player, and he's a good player. He gets traded, or he requests a trade to go to another team because maybe there's a better opportunity there. But after a year or two there, you realize that yes, you solved a major problem by going here, but there's a whole set of new problems on this new team because there's new people, there's a new environment. But it's still something that you could have addressed at the original place if you had just kind of figured out what the main issue was or what you could do to fix it. So, you know, the solution is not necessarily always like, let me leave this person. I think that the solution, well, one of the solutions is to really, really be clear when you go into that relationship, because sometimes you are better off single than to going into this relationship and you guys conflicting, and it adds to your stress level and it takes away 5 years of your lifespan because you guys haven't figured out how to communicate, or you haven't figured out how to communicate. But I don't know.
Yeah. That's very true. Whatever your pattern of behavior is, whatever your skill set is with dealing with problems that come up, you're going to take that with you with wherever you go. I think you said that when men or women lose their jobs or income, it affects both of them, and it may be slightly different. I would say it's a significant difference, the effect that it has on men when they don't have their income, or when they don't have their jobs, versus women, because in society, men's ability to provide is a bigger deal than women's ability to provide, even though both are needed. But the way that it's internalized when you're not able to provide, like providing is very much tied to men's sense of self-worth in a way that's unhealthy, in a way that society has created. And it's biological too, because men are providers in certain in senses that women weren't in certain senses. But because of that, because it's very much tied to the way they feel they're perceived in society, which is true, and the way that they feel about themselves, it causes a lot of the time when men don't have the certain income, or they feel like they're not doing as well as they would like to be doing in that capacity, and especially if it dropped, it typically leads to some form of depression if they're not able to rectify it quickly. And so it hurts their sense of self and their sense of self-worth, and they kind of emote that. They become more withdrawn, they become depressed, they become more negative. They can lose their steam as far as being ambitious and motivated, which can make them retreat more to doing things like playing video games and things that they don't have to really deal with how they're feeling. And they might just sometimes, like your parents, like, like black parents, where you can't be resting, like they're working and stuff, so you can't. It's like, even if he was only playing video games the same amount of time that he was before when he was working, it's like, if you're not working, you don't have time for video. You know how you, like, black parents do, like, you don't have time for fun if you haven't taken care of all your responsibilities and not in order. Then how are you having fun when that's not a realistic way to do life? Like, you can't, like, cut off all fun things until all your life is in
It's
order.
it's it's almost
But
like the guy that owes you, $20, and you see him at the store getting a beer. You're like, yo,
right.
hold up, how you getting a beer and you owe me $20?
Right. I feel it's that, some of that, like when you think a person is not doing what they're supposed to be doing, it makes you more upset when you see them doing other things. If you don't have the understanding that this person, even if they're not working, they still need time to retreat, in a way, like to do something that's fun for them to keep themselves going. I think what becomes, you okay? Somebody.
No, it's just a lifetime. I have there's a mirror on this side of the wall, and something flickered, and I just kind of
Oh,
checked.
okay. Like somebody talking to you
No,
outside.
nobody's coming in here. I promise you that.
But
Wrong,
yeah, I think
wrong
it
house.
could be some of that we experience sometimes of like you expect somebody to behave a certain way in a certain situation, and if they're not, then you're bothered by that. But I think what men sometimes don't realize and women don't realize is that men that especially that have shown that they're go-getters, they're not becoming lazy if they lose their income or their jobs. They're depressed. They're not feeling good about themselves for not having whatever they think they should be having, and so that's where you feel the disconnect and the lack of motivation is they're actually going into a depression. And so even if they're still doing some of the things that they like to do, that's probably more distraction. But for some people that can look like, okay, you just don't care. And when they're and also when they're in that state, they're not as like good at taking care of the woman in other ways. So let's say he was providing, he was buying stuff, he was doing stuff. A lot of times women will tolerate you not cleaning up, you playing games, leaving when you want, going out when you want, because you are taking care of the household financially. So if that takes that burden off of them, and so when you're not doing these other things, they're like, okay, like this is my responsibility, that's your responsibility. When you're not doing that, and then you haven't picked up doing these other things, and you're not giving me attention, that men losing their jobs causes a lot of disconnect in relationships, not just because of the loss of income, but the loss of their sense of self that they don't realize they're acting out, and it affects their relationships, and women sometimes don't know how to support them in that. And if they feel like they've been trying to and it's not working, they start to get frustrated and resentful towards the man for not doing what they think he should be doing. That's what when I heard that part, I was like, oh, okay. I can kind of imagine based on people I've seen what might be happening here. And then what else did I want to so is that like what happens to a person when they lose something that's really feeds their sense of self, and how that then affects your relationships. Like women, their sense of self is affected, yes, by if they're not doing well at something, but their sense of self sometimes is affected by like not feeling desired. So if he's less interested in sex or whatever, or being attentive to her because he's not feeling good about himself, that makes them upset of like, you're not, she mentioned like, you're not even taking me out anymore. You don't even like, you don't care if I get dressed up for you or not. You don't care if I'm trying to, you're not even noticing me. That affects women's sense of self, because women, like men, are looked at as providers and that's their value. Women are valued a lot of times for their beauty, and they associate being desired with worth. So I hear that as well, and then that can cause like tension in relationships. I'm trying to think of some of the other
I have a
themes I
quick question. I
heard.
have a quick question for you.
Yeah.
And you don't have to just quick thought on it. Um, what happens? How does that affect? How does losing income or your, I guess, income affect the woman?
Meaning if a woman loses her income,
'Cause I mean, obviously, not obviously, but I can definitely understand how it would affect the man's psyche, especially if someone relies on him. If he's single, you know, maybe he's in a drought for a while. But if you know people are relying on you and you know you're trying to be at a certain level with this particular person and you lost your leverage, so to speak, I can see that how it affects a guy. So everything you're saying, I can understand. But how does that affect the woman? Because my assumption is, if you don't have income, then you have to make different decisions, which sounds a lot like a lot of women I might, not a lot of women, but a few women I can think of back in the 80s or 90s who, maybe weren't good parents because they didn't have income. So their decision making was kind of influenced negatively.
I think it definitely can affect a woman's sense of self, but it just doesn't to the same degree because they're not held to that standard in society. No one typically people are not going to be like, "Oh, you're not a woman because you're not providing." right? Like people will say, "Oh, you're not a man if you're not providing." People don't have it's a similar way of like people don't judge men the same for not being married or having relationships the same way they judge women.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think if there are women who are responsible for themselves and their families, their children, or other family members, and it creates more of an anxiety with them around like bills and stuff like that. But it's not typically like I'm not good enough as a woman
Yeah.
because I cannot provide.
No, I got that. I got that.
Yeah, so it definitely has a negative effect and is going to cause stress and anxiety and could cause a form of depression. But I think the bigger issue beyond feeling down because you're out is feeling less than as a human being or your gender because of it. I don't think that women tend to feel less than as women if they're not the main providers.
You
I
know
don't
what I
think
just,
society makes them feel that way of like,
you
oh,
know,
you're not, you can't, you don't have this amount. They might make you feel a way if you're not doing anything for yourself, right? But they're not held to that standard of providing or
now
being the provider, not tied
the
to
thing
their
that crossed
womanhood.
my mind, it was um if they're both working and they're both contributing, and if let's say the woman loses her job and now more falls on the guy probably wouldn't feel any type of way about that necessarily, but I wonder if eventually then that becomes, if a decision is being made, if you don't have the mature enough people to deal with that, because again, it really boils down to having two people that are really dedicated to figuring it out together. Like all these issues, I just kind of like, oh yeah, I can see how that can affect somebody, but that decision that this is the right person, no matter what, it's kind of like it solves a lot of those challenges. But I can see that if maybe the guy's kind of in a lot of relationships where the guy pays for everything, where he kind of the decision making is kind of taken away from her, and it's more so like she doesn't have a say because she you don't bring I pay for everything, so I say some men have that perspective, like I pay for everything, I make the decisions. And I wonder, like, what does that creep in now? Whereas it doesn't affect her necessarily like a guy would directly, but indirectly, the power structure changes because you don't have the right people. But that's not the point you were making. Is you just I just thought of that because it was like, man, there's so many
No,
little gaps where you know just little things can just change a relationship, and it really, to me, backs up to that decision of, is this the right person? Do I understand who I am? Do I know who I want to be? Because you're going to change in 5, 10, 15 years. And that person is going to change in 5, 10, 15 years. But what is the overall commitment to that? And maybe you're committed to saying, hey, if we grow apart, we can love each other and not be with each other. Maybe that's the commitment. It's like, I want to commit to you being happy, not necessarily being with me unhappy. You know what I mean? But yeah,
yeah,
that's again
yeah.
great.
I,
It's kind
I
of,
think
this song can lead to so many different conversations.
it can. I think to your point, yes, you won deciding that you're talking more about like displaying a more unconditional love, which is
Unconditional
even if
love.
the way we started out and in a commitment to the person, unconditional love and a commitment to the person as they change or as things change, saying,
Mhm.
okay, this is not how it was before, but I'm still committed to you as a person. I'm not sure what the dynamic is. It's not clear to me if they're not, yeah, like you have to be committed to the person because things can happen to them, things can happen externally that won't be how it was. So if a person was a provider and they weren't, are you done now?
Yeah,
And if a person looked a certain way at a certain time or did certain things in the household and they don't anymore, are you
it's
done
sick.
with them now? Yeah, and I think the other part of what you're saying is being able to communicate about issues. I think it's a breakdown of, it sounds like a breakdown of both, and both would be a problem. Even if you are committed to a person and they become depressed, but from your standpoint, let's say it's been months and months and they don't have any commitment to trying to get better from your point of view, because I think that's what it's looking like. Not that you're having a hard time, because everybody does, but so if you have committed to this person, meaning I love you unconditionally, and if you have hard times or we have to switch roles or you can't do what you used to do, that's okay because you can't. But what it seems like is you can and you're not trying hard enough. You can and you don't care. You can and you're not putting the effort in. I think that's where people get frustrated and resentful sometimes, when they actually love the other person and they're committed to. Yes, you have the people who are just in it for whatever that person is doing in that moment, and they're not up for change or conflict or tension. It doesn't have to be conflict between the two people. It can come from external stuff. But if you have two people who really want to be together and are committed to each other, it's one thing if you feel your partner is trying, right? Or they need a moment and then they're trying. It's another thing if you feel like something is going on and on and on and you're not trying to do anything about it. And I think that causes resentment over time, where people can't stay together because they don't see a light at the end of the tunnel. Not that you have to go back to being a provider, but at least if you're motivated and you're ambitious, you still have that same character, whether you have the same amount of money or not. It's like, I think that becomes more of it. There are people that are going to leave when you lose your money. There are gonna people that are gonna leave when you lose your beauty, or when you're not able to have sex with them because of whatever. There are gonna be people that I'm done because you're not doing the things that I wanted you to do. There are those people, but
For
I
sure.
think for people that, say it again, I'm sorry.
No, I said for sure.
Yeah, there are people that I think actually like care for each other, love each other, want to stay committed, and don't know how to deal with that. And then there's the communication aspect that you're talking about, which is how do you have talks about those things and like listen to each other. And I think if the basis is there, the understanding that I'm here regardless, those conversations are easier. But
Mm-hmm.
if it feels threatening, of like, if you don't have the right answer and if you're not doing what I want you to do, I'm out of here.
Mm-hmm.
That adds a layer to the
And that's
that
most
adds a
people.
layer to the say it
I
again,
feel like
Trevor.
that's most people. They're still in that um facade stage where they're not completely themselves, and yeah, I think that's most people. They're not they're not going to tell you everything. They don't want to be that vulnerable because they haven't. They're just not in that stage yet. That space. Whereas, like you
Yeah.
said, conversations are much easier if you're certain and you make it certain. Like when somebody knows, like it's almost like a child with a parent. Like I know my son a little bit bolder because I'm there. My daughter and I ate chocolate covered crickets the other day at the museum. I don't know. That's not my thing. I'm not the guy. I'm very adventurous, but I'm not the chocolate worms and all. I don't do that. But when she got there, she knew my wife wasn't gonna do it. My wife was like, don't even look my direction. Like you already know. So she
They
looked
just
at
say
me and was like,
absolutely not.
Daddy, I'll do it if you do it. And I'm like, how did I become the parent that will do that? But I forgot why I went in that direction. But we ate chocolate covered um, oh, I know what it was. Being in the arms of a parent. I think there's a certain
You're talking
safe
about a
space,
sense of security that makes you
sense of
bold.
security. Yeah, it makes you do more than you ever really would. So I think, and I can spend time trying to explain what I mean. I know you already know because we've talked for years at this point. But there's something about that clarity. It doesn't make it much easier because you still got to have the hard conversations, but it just kind of sets the space for words to be. It opens the book so words can be placed on the paper that can express how you're feeling. You have a certain amount of grace for this person because you know, even if you don't see it physically right now, you know that they're trying and maybe they're showing it in different areas. And grace also comes with you understanding that a lot of times people are so stubborn in showing love the way that they want to receive it that you don't really realize that they're showing you love. Like you experience love as tomato soup and they keep giving you clam chowder. And clam chowder is their shit. So they're really trying to give you everything. But you're like, yo, I don't like clam chowder like that. But again, I just messed my mic up. But again, it's all it still doesn't make it any easier. And if you have kids and like responsibilities like that just multiplies it. There's people that are getting divorced now that I thought would never get divorced. Just a lot of them. And I understand. I don't even have no judgment. I'm like, I understand what you were talking about, and I would be frustrated too. But and
Yeah.
I'm not comparing myself to them. I just, for me, in my situation, it's like that to me, that's the foundation, and nothing crazy is going to happen. So I don't have to think about this scenario or that scenario. Those don't happen here. They don't. I just it and I the last 2 years for sure. I'm very conscious that whatever I'm thinking and really expecting is gonna happen in some fashion. Something like that is gonna happen. It may not happen exactly how I say it, but it will. My battery is about to die. Let me go get my
Okay.
charger real quick.
Okay.
Don't even remember what I was
Yeah.
saying. That's how it
You were
works.
saying that all these other things that can come up, like that you have to communicate about, you have to grow with the person. Like there's gonna be things that uh that you just have to work through together, and things outside of yourself that you have to work through together. And if you can't talk through it or commit to being a sense like having a secure relationship, that's what you're talking about. The more secure you are with the person, the better able you are to deal with certain things and talk about certain things, because there's that underlying understanding in the conversation that's taking place. There's an understanding that I'm here even if we have issues or even if things come up and we're doing this together, versus like if you don't do what I want you to do. And you're saying when a person has that, they're able to behave a bit differently, but you still have to face whatever. That's not the end of it. You still have to face whatever issues that you're having and work them out. One of the things that I'm sorry, go
I
ahead.
was gonna say I'm assuming that this is a person that has already expressed that they love you. You guys have some history together. You know that they're going through something or have gone through something, and you're going through something. So there's a level of you not feeling like you're that much better than everybody to stop and say, okay, what am I not doing as well? Because here's the good thing about being doing your best. If you know you're doing everything and you know you're doing everything you possibly can, then you can pass judgment. And then you can start to say, you know what, this is not serving me. This relationship is not serving me because I know, like I'm certain. But there's some people that say they're certain, and then 2, 3 years later, 5 years, 10 years later, they look back and say, I might have screwed that up because I wasn't certain. I was just being I went the 80-20 rule. I went for the 20 and gave up the 80%. So it really comes down to, again, is this a competent partner that you've been with, not somebody that you're pushing or striving to be with and you're still chasing them, you're still trying to get something from them. No, you guys have connected at some point and you've lost your way. But sorry, I want to kind of throw that in there.
No, no, that's good. I'm glad you threw that in there. I think it's two things. Like one, people are typically a lot of times people are focused on what their partner is not doing, not what they could be doing. Like they're focused on you're not doing this and you're not doing this, when they have their own things they could be doing that regardless of what the partner is doing or not. Like, are you doing everything you could be doing? But people tend to focus on what the other person is not doing. And the other thing about you have to have some self-awareness even, and you have to have knowledge of what a relationship entails to know if you're doing everything you can do. I think that's a problem also. It's like
Yeah,
a lot of people in
it's
relationships are coming from families that there was no model of relationships, or they had models that weren't good for relationships. And I don't know, people have an ego thing about learning about relationships. Like they just want to wing it. Like, I got this. I don't need a therapist. I don't need anybody telling me. And it's like, why do you think that? Why do you think that? Why are you going to wing one of the most important things in your life? I don't know, but we have a lot of people have that attitude of like, I know what to do. And so it's like, no, but you don't. A lot of things that you're doing are unhealthy. You could be doing a lot of things differently you could be communicating differently. You could be focused on yourself in a way. You could be supporting better than you are. You have the capacity, but you're not even aware you should be doing those things because you didn't learn it from anywhere.
no,
You
for
didn't
sure.
learn. It's the same way like anybody can have a baby. Like, you don't get a manual on having a baby doesn't mean you're a good parent just
Mm-mm.
because you can have a baby. Anybody can have a relationship. It doesn't mean that you're good at it just because you can get into a relationship. And I think people think, oh, if I'm doing my best, that should be good enough. Sometimes what your best is you're not aware that's actually not good enough, but no one has informed you of what a healthy relationship should consist of.
You know what's scary? Um, and listen, I care, but I don't care enough to be like fight the power. But uh, a lot of people in the future are going to rely solely on technology to help them find love. They're going to rely on AI to give them advice on this dating thing. They're actually going to rely on AI to match them too. They're going to take different profiles, and then this thing is going to search through millions of other profiles to find people who are 70% compatible based on a thousand uh, data points, and it's going to lose a lot of the authenticity of talking to someone who's felt before,
Mm-hmm.
and someone like yourself who, again, understanding how to talk to people and extract from people is something I don't think AI will ever replicate because it's never felt before. But yeah, people are gonna. I don't know how. If it's not worth it to you, you're just gonna end up like one of the people I just described. If it's worth it to you, you'll kind of go out and find as much as you can on it. Because I know that's why I'm winning now. I'm positive because I was searching. I was talking to a therapist. I was searching. So for me to kind of be where I am, where it's like I'm in a great space in that area of life, like I intended it to happen. So, and I told you this before, I was like, man, the way I intended things to happen with my relationship and my family, like, man, I need to apply that to other areas of my life. That's crazy. Like this, it happened exactly how I said it would happen because I said it. So I'm currently
Yeah,
doing that in other
you
areas of
said
my
it,
life.
and then you went to. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
I
off.
feel
What
I'm
you
currently
say?
doing the exact same thing in other areas of my life. It's like, what would it be like if I knew that was going to work out? Like when I was dating, I knew it was going to work out. But after all of my heartbreak and learning and yeah, I knew it, and I look back at it and I'm like, that to me was my key. Um, but I forgot what. Listen, I forget what topic
That's
we were
okay.
talking. My kids,
you're,
listen.
you're
I'm think somebody just texted me. They're like, I need a bio because I was going to speak at a friend of mine's thing. So he's like, I need your bio. I'm like, I'm not writing a bio. How do I write a bio right now? I probably have one stored somewhere, but I see him saying, then my son's like, I finished my homework because he's homesick today, but he has work to do. So he's like, no, I got my homework. So I trying to remember what the topic was. I'm like, gosh, I was just telling you, like, life, everything is just happening. But it's,
you're on topic. You you're on topic. You're saying for that type of self-awareness and type of relationship, you have to be able to believe in it and work towards it. That's what I think you're speaking
Mhm.
to. When I say you have to have the self-awareness of what you need to know to be doing your best, you were talking about you could see that for yourself, and then you took steps for that to take place. Like you got help also for that to take place, and you were comparing using something like AI versus other ways of trying to learn yourself and learn how to have relationships, and how people are going to rely on technology to. And I think that's part of the problem also is they talk about it like swipe culture is a problem. You always thinking that you can find the next best thing as you keep
Yeah.
swiping.
Yep.
Dating online is a problem as far as like they're finding that women tend to like a certain percentage of
Yep.
profiles that
Yep.
are like most women are liking the same profiles, but that it's different when you meet men in person. Somebody that you might have swiped on in person will really catch your attention in other ways in person. But if you're not going out to meet people, if you're not adding that human social aspect to dating, and all you're just technology, you men, especially women too, because if men are visual and they're just going after women that present a certain way online, um you're missing these very human factors that help people connect and not just be worried about AI said you're 70% compatible, or you look this way in your profile, and I want the people that like look the best or have these factors that when you meet in a bar or you meet at the bowling at wherever doing an activity through friends, there are human factors that take place that help people connect that are missing when you meet people online.
Yeah,
So yeah, like I can understand and see like that, how that human element, that social human element makes a difference.
it's going to
And
change
yeah,
drastically. It's going
yeah,
to change drastically in our lifetime, but it's not. I don't think it's a. It'll be positive in some ways, but again, it'll be. I feel like it'll lose a part of what made it special. Um,
yeah,
but like you said, people don't learn. I don't know. I felt like it was worth it. Like learning how to make money to me is worth it. So that's why I'm always listening to podcasts or stuff on that. Learning how to not, in the book Think and Grow Rich, I always remember the top 30 causes of failure. Think and Grow Rich, top 30 causes of failure. Choosing the wrong spouse was like right in the middle of the list. I don't know why that stood out to me, but it did.
and I think what's important to that is not only is choosing the wrong spouse, but I think another thing, either in that book or some, I can't remember exactly where, choosing the wrong spouse. But I think where we have gone wrong, not me, but and not you, but a lot of people, that they're listening to people who don't value relationships. They're
Hmm.
listening to people who don't value marriage. They're listening to people who are more interested in pointing the finger at the other gender and saying they're the reason for their unhappiness or blame or why they can't get anybody and it's not worth it. And yes, for some people, it's, to me, it's better to be single and healthy and learning to be healthy with yourself than to be in a abusive or bad relationship.
Hmm.
But relationships are romantic relationships and marriage are definitely have their advantages, that I think a lot, when when they're good, that a lot of people are like minimizing and taking this like very angry approach towards other people about being single and not being what they want them, not being these perfect people that they want them to be able to select, like if you're not perfect in these ways that they're talking about on like podcasts, then they don't want you as a girlfriend, they don't want you as a boyfriend, and all of these, a lot of these different ideas are just very harmful to relationships. And then we're social beings, so if we don't know how to have romantic, and that's, romantic relationships are a part of our nature, so we don't know how to do that, we're going to still do it in some way, but that in a way that's unhealthy, because you don't lose that drive to connect with other people in that way.
Hmm.
Like, unless you're asexual, and even asexual people, they're not interested in sex, but doesn't mean they're not interested in relationships. So when you don't learn how to do that because you're listening to these people who are presenting relationships and dating in these negative ways, is having a negative effect on society in a way that they date, in a way that they pick partners. You saw value in it. You're raised in a different time, and probably the people around you or whatever you saw made you interested in it. Where nowadays, and I'm not saying that all people are thinking this way, but a lot of people now are seeing a lot of stuff online, people talking in ways online that people didn't used to talk about, being married or being in relationships. That is, that not just addressing what's wrong sometimes with power dynamics or gender roles. All that stuff is good to talk about, because the way we have relationships has to change and grow with the way we change and grow. Like, gender roles change some and stuff like that, and that's fine to have those conversations. I'm talking about more like the conversations that have a lot of like nastiness to them, like men are this and women are that and don't date. Like, those conversations are wild on the internet, and the effect that it's having is detrimental. But yeah, like you saying, that
I'll,
makes me.
I will say this about what you just said, and I don't. It's crazy how it's like the internet. When you put something on the internet and 10 years or 20 years go by, and then you go back to look at that, you're like, man, I'm not that person anymore. That whoever said that was me 10 years ago. That's crazy. So a lot of people don't realize that the things that they do now, they're gonna be memories tomorrow, and nobody cares if you're successful in money. Nobody cares if you're successful in relationships. It may seem like people care, but again, we talked about this on the other video. My grandmother is turning 100 in the next few days, and short-term memory is gone. It's going for the last few months. So it made it up to 99 before our memory started to go a little bit. She remembers everything, just short term. But when I
Mm-hmm.
tell her she's turning 100, she's always like, I have to tell her twice a week. Like, you're turning 100. She's like, who, me? Like, I'm turning 100 in age? Like, are you serious? So time is always moving. Even to the 100-year-old, time is moving fast. So these same people, again, nobody cares if you're successful or not. You take advice from the wrong person, you end up unhappy in your life. Nobody's going to care. So you have to take the time to think about that. But I realize that the younger people are, the less they care about getting it right. And the older you are, typically the more you should care about getting it right, because you don't have as much time. Your time is more valuable. It's not a negative thing. It's just like, wow, if I got 45 more years on this planet, I don't look at that as, oh man, I wish I got this relationship thing started earlier. It's like, nah, the person I connect with moving forward, it's going to be a very valuable time. Unlike the couple that got married at 25, where they were bullshitting for 5 years and they can't even tell you what happened. So there's a positive look that you have to have when you're going into anything that you want. You have to have some level of assumption that things are going to work out for you, because I think in some hidden book that maybe they're not sharing with us, there is some things that we'll probably learn this 200-300 years from now, but there's something special about us and our feelings and our emotions and what they draw to you, and the things that happen around you, the things that you make yourself aware of because you're focused on them. Opportunities present themselves if you are conscious, fully conscious of the things that you say you want for your life. But it's not always going to work out, because it's like little windows that open up of opportunity, and you might miss it, not because you weren't ready. It's just maybe you didn't turn around in time for that guy or that woman that was walking by that probably would have looked you dead in your eye with the stare that says, I want to talk to you. So it's a game of luck, but you just have to put yourself in a position to create your own luck. And it goes back to what you were saying, is like, let me learn as much as I can about relationships from people that I think can add value to my life, so that when I go out and make decisions, because nobody's going to be there coaching you to meet this person. Nobody's going to be there coaching you when you're back to back resenting your partner. You're going to have to pull your pants up and kind of get to work. But you have to realize that whatever you know is going to come out. Not necessarily, I don't want to say that, but you have to be conscious of where you want to be, fully conscious, and that takes understanding and learning. And I realize, again, to the point we were saying earlier, like, I feel like I'm constantly figuring things out. You're right. Like, I figured out one thing, and now I'm like, I don't know anything. Like, I thought I figured out relationships, and I'm happy. But yeah, there's relationships, but there's also relationships as a parent to a son. And then there's also a relationship as a parent to a daughter. And then there's also relating as a couple, but also parenting a son and a daughter. Then there's parenting a black son and a black daughter. I'm like,
And then relationship to self as you continue to grow in those relationships. Yeah. Yeah, so relationships are a big part of our lives because we're social beings. So the fact that we just think we're just going to wing it, or we could just listen to whoever and it's not going to, or you don't have to learn from your mistakes and that it's not going to have negative consequences. Oh my gosh, that's just not true. And I guess like to try to like wrap things up. The last thing that I'll say about the song is that it's the same behavior. They're staying together and they haven't figured out how to solve their problems.
mhm,
But they're not doing anything about making a
mhm,
relationship better and they're not getting out of it. And there's consequences to that. And a lot of people do that. It's like, okay, you haven't figured out how to make it better, but you're continuing on in this way. And while it may feel comfortable or familiar, it's having a negative effect on you. It's having a negative effect on that person. It's going to have a negative effect on your future because you're not learning in this situation how to improve it, or if you can't improve it, how that you need to let go. If you can't make it better together, then you need to let go. But I feel a lot of people do that. They stay in relationships that they're not doing well in as a person or with the other person, and they're also not trying to figure out what they could do differently to make it better. And we just don't have all the time in the world. We don't, and we have to be careful of like what we're doing and who we're learning from, and being conscious of how we use our time and how we, yeah, and how we use our relationships with other people.
One last thing I'll say, just because you just sparked it in my head. Just like I'm a big gardener, just like the tomato plants outside right now, just like the beautiful flower that's outside blooming right now. If you're not growing, you're dying. Anything that's alive, if you're not growing, you're dying. So yeah, in a relationship, if you no movement is dying. Like your relationship is slowly dying if you're not actively trying to move forward, to do something about it. And it's not their fault. It could be, but for now, it's not their fault. Figure out what I can do. Like we are powerful. I'm telling you, they're 200 years from now, they're gonna be like, yo, you know what? All you have to do is think this way or feel this way, and this happens. You're like, wow, like what did our ancestors do before they could just manifest like that? Like, what were they thinking back in 2000s? They were barbaric. Like, dude, you can have anything you want. Like, I really believe we're just not there yet, but there's too much coincidence that happens. So again, if you're not growing, you're dying in your relationship.
In anything.
In anything. Word. Word. Word.
Yeah, you're not growing. You're definitely dying in anything. That's when people are getting older and they're like, "Oh, I'm turning this age," and it's like, well, you have two choices. You either grow, you either get older, or you die. That's it. It's no other. There are no other options. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think I love this song. I think
I
it's
like the
like a
song.
powerful song
Yeah.
explaining people's perspectives when they get in these kind of like stuck conflicts, and how that harms the relationship, but they're still like staying in it. And I think the visual really, I've been liking his videos, so I think the visual also makes it even
With her
more
rapping,
powerful. I'm sorry.
with her rapping his lyrics. Yeah, the visual is crazy.
Yes.
Very crazy.
Yeah, he starts off saying she said, so you know
Yeah.
it's coming from a woman's
Yeah.
perspective. And
Word.
then in the second verse, you hear that his perspective of everything, and that's pretty much what it's like in couples counseling too. It's the same situation,
I
but
see
you're
that.
hearing it's
I
a
see that.
different story depending on who's telling the story.
Yeah, I see
And
that. Anything.
yeah,
But
I
even
really
doper
liked it.
than all of that, as we go, even doper than all of that, I'm a big fan of lyrics. So the
Hmm.
fact that you brought this song to me, I was like, yo, y'all love her. I'm a big fan. Yo, Joyner is lyrically one of those guys. So for him to kind of put relationship perspective in song, well, as soon as I heard it, I was like, I could listen to Beyonce and some other songs that which I can always extract value from. But you put a lyricist on, I was like, hold on, let me rewind what he just said. Like, yeah, I appreciate that.
Yes, you know, I'm girl. You also can pick songs,
I'm not,
so
I'm,
we're
no,
not
no,
always doing
no,
like
no, let me be clear though. I'm a music head, so
yes, yes, I know, I know.
most of the songs that you presented to me, I either enjoyed or I already knew what they were. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
give me
but you
Beyonce
know,
all
I'm
day.
picking.
We can do Beyonce. It's all good. We could do A
Yeah, no, I
Marie.
know
I
you're
don't
not
care.
saying we can't do Beyonce, but I do know like the music that I tend to pick is probably something of, you know, it's filtered through me what I'm
Mhm.
picking, and so probably we would discuss something different or add another perspective to something that is from your filter that's filtered through you, because
Yeah,
I think
but
we
that's what we
typically do
discussed.
songs that I pick, huh?
We do, and but I think
Mhm.
that's why we get on here because we listen to the same thing. We probably will extract a lot of similar things because we were on the topic, but there's different things that we extracted from the exact same song. So I don't mind it at all. However, I will try to come up with a song as well, but I don't mind that at all because we listen to it and we both have different perspectives. Although some of them are very similar because you're a winner and I like to win too. So I like to think I sound like you a little bit.
Yes, we agree on most things. I think maybe that's why most times when people have these discussions, they have somebody they can have conflict with, but we tend to agree. So we don't have a lot of back and forth argument. We don't debate much because we
let
tend
the
to
comments
agree.
conflict, and then we could debate the comments.
All right, but it's nice. It's good to see you.
Same
and
here.
I'll be talking to you soon. I gotta get out of here.
Okay.
All right.
Have a great day.
You too.